I don't know if you're like me, but if you are, you're planning on what's Wednesday going to be like. I literally don't want to do anything on Wednesday because the weather's going to be nice. And there's some things you can do outside, which we've not been able to do for a while. Listen, I know we've had a mild winter, but it's not. Once the winter hits, what are you going to do outside? Are you going to go outside and lay on your back lawn or something? You're going to do it. We don't. There's nothing, and it's just cold enough to be miserable. So even though we say, "Wow, it's been a mild winter," all it does is I would just as soon have 3 feet of snow. All it does is screw up everything for the snowmobilers. And it screws up the ski resorts, anybody that makes money off winter weather, and it's just miserable. It's just not nice out. So, choose one or the other, I guess.
Your take on the weather is similar to somebody would say, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. So your take is, if it's going to be 30, it might as well be 10 and 3 feet of snow.
That's my take.
Yeah.
You might as well. I mean, it's already there. So if that benefits... it's not like I'm sitting outside every night enjoying the beautiful weather. Although Wednesday, I think you might be.
If you get a small stain on your shirt, the shirt's ruined either way.
Yeah, you might as well get it.
You might as well throw it right in the sauce.
Why are you? What are you sitting around trying to protect your shirt for?
Yeah, that's fair, and it does hurt the snowmobilers.
Yes, so. I have an interesting story here and a note. This might be something. This I don't know what newspaper this came from, but this might be something that is worth talking about. This is a letter to the editor on teenagers, and this person says teens should be named in crime stories. In a note to readers on March 1st, you state that you rarely name teenagers who are criminal suspects, and we follow that same policy here, right? I think they should always be named. Maybe if their parents knew they would be responsible and embarrassed by what their kids did, they would be more apt to keep an eye on what they're up to and who their friends are. In my opinion, protecting them and keeping their name out of the media is a mistake. What do you think about that?
As a media person, I could not disagree more.
Okay.
For a couple of reasons. One, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So you could really ruin someone's life by saying...
Well, if you use that argument, then everyone.
However,
we should be like Canada, where you can't put the name out until after they've been found guilty.
And I don't necessarily think that that's a terrible idea. However, young people are more vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
Cannot necessarily explain it as older people can, number one. Number two, there are things that you may do as a younger person that if you get caught doing them could ruin your life if everyone knows about it. And so I think in the media, we give you a certain amount of
You're
leeway.
young, you're immature, you're going to make mistakes, not assuming that you're going to, but if you do, we're going to blame it on something, on your youthfulness, your immaturity. We're going to give you a second chance. Where there's some crimes that if a kid commits, then their name gets in the, it depends on the severity of the crime.
So our standard is if it's a felony and a felony involving a weapon, then we publicize the name. And I think even law enforcement authority adheres to the rule that if they're under 15 or 16, that they don't publicize the name at all.
Well,
and that's not to say that you can't find it.
Isn't it almost always the case where we allow the police to determine whether the name gets
right,
released?
and sometimes the police release the name and we choose not to. And the other thing is, many people have a double standard when it comes to crime. I think a lot of people think that crime should be reported, but may take a different stance if it's someone in their family. And so we always assume...
Everybody takes that stance.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost everybody takes that stance.
Yeah.
So, we always say, and Manaski and I have this conversation all the time, how would you feel if the person being accused of this crime were a member of your family?
Yeah.
Treat it as though it is a member of your family and use the same delicacy. Unless the person is convicted or admits to the crime, confesses to the crime, it's a different story.
Chief of Police in Rome, Kevin Beach, is on the line right now. You guys normally determine, what is your policy on whether you release a name of a kid? How do you determine whether they're quote unquote underage or a youthful offender?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
How are you?
It usually depends on the crime
Sure.
that they're being charged with, and we always lean on this err on the side of caution. if they're going to be treated as a youthful offender in the court system, then that name is not going to be released. The general rule of thumb would be 16 years old. Anybody under 16, we're definitely not going to be releasing their name.
Got it. Yeah. I guess it makes sense. And obviously, if it's a more severe crime, then the name gets released. Interesting story we were reading about with the Rome Police Department. You guys had you had some money left over, and you were able to, through good budgeting, there's always a good story here somewhere, good budgeting, you were able to buy some new equipment, right?
Yes, that's true. Fortunately, we did some good things in 2015, and the administration and the council had agreed to kind of reward us. And since we did come in well under budget, we were able to go back and look at some of the items that we had cut out of last year's budget and put those back in. We were able to make those purchases. So.
And when you say rewards us, that can be taken in a different way. What I feel you mean on that is it allows you guys, this new equipment allows you guys to do your job and to do your job more efficiently.
Right. I guess rewards wouldn't be the best way to put it, but what I'm saying is, these are things that we had been asking for. They're things that we felt that we need as tools, in the police department for the guys to be able to do their jobs better. And, unfortunately, at the time when you're doing the budget, you have your things that are definitely your needs.
Sure.
And then your wants. And, you really have to prioritize. And at the time, these were some of the things that were taken off the board before they even made it to the budget process.
Now, one of the items it is these are night vision monoculars, which we hear binoculars, but these are night vision cameras.
They're not cameras. They're actually basically, like you said, binoculars, but there's only one of them.
Got it.
That would make it the monocular.
A monocular. Okay.
What those are being used for is our special response team. Sometimes whether it's a drug raid or if you have a barricaded subject, we usually don't determine what time we get calls. And, there are instances that they have to be out there at night and they're at a disadvantage without having any way to see. And now we have that technology out there for night vision. And we felt it's very important that, as we're able to get our officers the best technology out there, as soon as we can afford it, we try to pick it up and put them in the best position possible.
So it's roughly $32,000 in equipment. When does the equipment arrive?
Actually, the equipment was just being ordered last week. We had to wait for the process to go through. You have to get it cleared through the council. Then you have to do the Board of Estimate has to do a budget transfer and have to wait for the treasurer. So we're expecting it within the next couple of weeks. Some of it was ordered Friday, and there's going to be a couple items that are going to be ordered today, and then we should be all set.
All right, and I'm assuming that and some of the items, do you need training for some of these things?
No, not really. Most of them are pretty basic. A lot of the stuff that's in there is for a forensic unit. They train with their small group of people, so most of these items are not something that's general for the entire department, especially like the throw phone is something that just our hostage negotiators will be using. That's going to take some training. It's quite different. We've never had anything like that before.
Explain what that is.
The phone gives us the ability, say if you have a barricaded subject, somebody that there's a safety issue with trying to communicate with them, you can take that phone, you can toss it into a house, apartment, wherever this person may be.
Got it.
And, you don't want to take your iPhone and throw it through a window. And these are very rugged piece of equipment. Then you can make direct contact with that person.
Okay. All right, that's very that's again, a lot of these items you might not. These aren't things you would use every day, but when something comes up, and many of these types of situations we've seen here around the area, to have that equipment and to have the officers knowing how to use that and trained on that equipment, that I'm assuming is really big.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like I say, you've got your toolbox, as the officers sometimes refer to it as, and we hope with some of these things that maybe you never have to use them.
Right.
But it's a lot better to be prepared we prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
That's me every day, Chief. That's me every day. Chief of Police in Rome, Kevin Beach, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.